everybody can't see me, I'm up behind this box here, so I'm not the tallest lad in the room. First of all, I want to thank you guys for coming here at the last 4 meetings. This is what this council needed. We wanted public input. We weren't going to go and make a major decision without contacting the public. We got great comments, both for, both against, and there was like a lot of questions tonight that were asked. And I remember we already made contact with the governments, and I remember one of the members in Ottawa said, what would you need to do this facility? And I said, if you can give us what Peter MacKay got in his writing, you'll never see us again. And they said, what did Peter get? And I said, you give him $50 million. Give it to us, we'll build it. But as far as, am I for this? Yes, at all costs, definitely not. Definitely not. I'm not going to be responsible for bringing taxes up. Since we've been in there, we've held a line on taxes. No doubt, a new facility, you know what, we're going to have to pay a little bit. There's no doubt about that. But at all costs to the citizens of Miramichi, no, definitely not. And it's got to be a 3-way split. There's no way around it. We cannot afford $60 million ourselves. And I agree with what Billy and them were saying. It's got to be a 3-way split. But one thing about it, we got great comments tonight. We got great questions that were asked. And as a Miramichi group, we have to stick together. We have to put probably pressure on both governments that say, look, this is for the future. I have no kids that are involved in sports, but I do have grandkids that are growing up. And I know myself, you know, one of these days, I'm probably going to be living back at the airbase, hoping I have a walking track I can go around. And it's nice to do it at 70 degrees in the winter, but it's nice to do it in an air-conditioned building in the summer too. And some of and I know what Jason mentioned about like fundraising and that, and glad you mentioned that, Jason, because I was already approached by 2 ladies that are willing to take this together and have a major fundraiser. As far as a 3-way split, we've had a company that contacted us. I'm not going to mention the company, but naming rights, there's so much ways that we can make money. And if we can get a 50% share, we're actually down to around a $13 or $14 million project for the city, you know. And I know there's potholes, I agree with you. We have a 25-year plan, it's already in the works. And since we got on council, we've come up with a 5-year strategic plan. That is coming about through the engineering, through our manager, and everybody else. And somebody mentioned we're putting City Hall in that. I have no problem. Vendors in that, yes, we did look at this. We're looking at vendors, we're looking at who would run them, maybe the food facilities in there. And we did a lot of work, and how we get involved in this was 4 years ago. Jerry asked me, can you form a group? And we did. We had retirees, we had rec directors, we had people that did school recreation on this group. We did, and there was 13 or 14 of them. We took their advice. We had a lot of tremendous people on that board. They worked at that for about 1.5 years, and then Trace come on board. Then they started doing the studies, and one thing we said before we started, we will never ever spend this much money without import to the citizens of Miramichi. That's who we answer to, that's who pays our taxes, and hopefully our next idea, now before we go to the government, we have to come up with a business plan on the way we're going to have a 3-way split, and that's the first thing they're going to ask you. What is your business plan? And I'll tell you, for one person, definitely, and I think everybody else sitting here to my left, we're going to listen to what the people of Miramichi want, and we will definitely oblige by what you people want. Thank you.
I'm a taxpayer. I'm no different than anybody else in this room. Maybe I don't have children that are young and perhaps can use these facilities. When I was elected, I was asked by the mayor to be the co-chair for recreation at the time. I'm currently the chair. And Billy was the chair at the time. And one of the things that we did receive when I was first elected was a binder, and it was not a small binder. So I went through the binder and I got looking at some of the numbers. And I honestly thought there was a mistake when I looked at the numbers it was going to cost to bring these facilities up to standard. And when I say standard, I'm not talking building code, I'm just talking standard. And I called Billy and I said, did you look through your binder? And he said, I did. And I said, does that seem right to you? And he said, no, those numbers are exorbitant. So we got in touch with Darlene and we got in touch with Suzanne, and we said, are these numbers right? And they said yes. And I said, if I'm going to look at investing, and I do look at this as an investment, If I'm gonna look at investing taxpayers' money, don't forget I'm a taxpayer, what could I get for that kind of money if I were to build new? I don't make decisions for myself and for you as a taxpayer without looking at all of the options, without getting all the information. So that's what started this. We did convene a committee. We did, at that point, try to get as much community involvement as we could. When we got to the point where we are today, and it has been a slow process, and we've tried our best to keep it moving along, but we need to make sure we do our due diligence. We need to make sure that we have accurate figures. Right now, the figures that we have are based on replacing what we have. These may not be the figures when we move forward, should we decide to move forward. And that's the decision we're here to make tonight, is do we move forward with investigating more into a new facility, or do we stop that process and look at fixing what we have? So that is the challenge that this council has, and that's a decision we are going to have to make. I'm in favor of that. I'll go on record tonight as saying I am in favor of that, because I do feel that we need more information, and I do feel that as a taxpayer and as somebody who represents you, that's my responsibility, and I take that very seriously. And thank everybody.
Taking everything into consideration, both for and against. This is a major decision which we are about to agree for. I am in favor of this recreation new facility. I can go way back further than this council, because I was on the other council when there was a committee formed. There was an recreation advisory committee, and also another couple of councillors, as you read in the newspaper, Councillor Tanker Malley and Mr. Treadwell, who traveled to different areas in the province and brought back information on what it would be like to build a new facility. So it's not something that just started within the last 4 years, it's been ongoing. We had people from all over the community represented on these committees, and input from people who dealt with recreation. We had teachers, business people who had their input. So this isn't something that this council has come up with. This is something that the people from Miramichi have given their input. And I understand what some of the people are saying. They're talking about the cost. I know a lot of the speakers, and I spoke to them many times on many issues. But I think this is really important. I am older, but I'm looking to the future. I have 14 grandchildren and 7 children. We've been a family for sports for years and years. We volunteered with sports. I know how important it is. And I also was a nurse for 40 years, so I know what health is to our community, and how important it is for people to be able to use recreation as far as healthcare. So
I'm 54 years old, and I'm getting older by the minute with this process. But I do want to say thank you all for coming. I think engaging our citizens in a decision that's as important as this has been extremely important. It's been really interesting to sit here through all of the sessions that we've had, and this is the 4th one. This is the 2nd question and answer. And I learned a lot tonight. No doubt this has been a long road, and I think it will continue to be a long road. This is a huge undertaking, and I think it's fair to say it's the biggest undertaking that any council will ever undertake in this municipality. I am confident that we've done our due diligence. We had the Recreation Advisory Committee. Those people worked very hard, and I think Billy and Peggy explained that process very well and explained how hard those people worked in their background. None of your comments fell on my deaf ears, because I understand what Mary, you said about the cost and the timing maybe not being right. With regards to putting the shovel in the ground, it's not a matter of making a phone call to any level of government saying, hey, we need some money. Do you think you can help us build this thing? Certainly if you go to a lending institution for money, they want to see a business plan, and that's where we're at. I came into this whole issue being against it. And a friend of mine who's raised 3 children in this community said, Shelley, you've got to make your heart a little softer about this. she said, I took my kids to the Lord Beaverbrook rink for skating, and I wanted to walk, and I had nowhere to walk. She said, a walking track would be a wonderful thing for me. And this lady's in her 60s and nearing retirement. And I think, and I think everybody was picking on the obese people here tonight. I'm wider than anybody else here, but maybe taller than a couple, but anyway. Losing weight every week, I think. And it's not an easy battle. I would love to be able to go to a walking track and walk. However, excuse me, I want to say this. Perhaps what was proposed in the plan is not what you people want built in your city. Maybe there's some type of compromise, building a smaller facility with, let's say, with a pool and a gym. Maybe that's what we need. I know people are shaking their heads, and perhaps we can only build what we can afford. I can't commit if we don't have the federal and the provincial money. I can't put the city any further into debt. Thank you.
And I want you to know also that and I'm sure my colleagues, are listening to your feedback. Many people over the last few weeks have asked me how I feel, and I said, I don't know how I feel till we finish the public consultations. Tonight I can tell you, I am in favor of continuing to explore the idea of building. And that includes, of course, securing the federal and provincial support. Otherwise, the conversation changes completely. And if things fall into place, I would be in favor of building the facility for many of the reasons that many of you have stated this evening as well. We do need to encourage healthy lifestyles. We need this facility as an asset to retain young families and encourage other people to move to Miramichi. This is real. I mean, this is my demographic. This is my brother. This is my sister. These are the people I went to school with. Right now, these people are deciding where are they going to spend the next 30 years? Where are they going to pay taxes for the next 30 years? And we want that to be here. The other big user of this facility would be seniors. And as many of you, I'm sure, are aware, we have positioned ourselves as a retirement destination. Well, as a retirement destination, our seniors also deserve a top-tier facility to go and use with the walking track and the swimming. So on both the young families and seniors, this is something that I think makes us a more attractive place to live. And it can also be an economic driver for tourism, sports tourism, and I know some of you mentioned that as well. But of course the numbers have to make sense, and Mike and my colleagues can tell you, since I've been on council for the last year, one of the first things I always ask when we're discussing any issue is, Mike, where are the financials? We have to make sure that the numbers make sense. And
thank you everybody for coming here tonight. This is a great thing. Just especially I concur with everyone what the councillor said, especially Councillor Lorden there at the end there. This has been quite a project and quite an ordeal. I know it's hard on everybody, especially our seniors. Matter of fact, I just got my first old age check the other day. So I am a senior. And I don't mind spending a few dollars on this thing. But just going over it, one lady talked there earlier there, I think at Veronique, she said, we're going to spend $31 million on all infrastructure. And that's your tax dollars. That's not going to be government funding. That's your tax dollars alone. So we got to look at that. Do I want to build this place? Yes. Do I want to build it tomorrow? Yes. Certainly do. I'm not just saying that just to gain votes here. I'm just being honest with these folks. That's the way I was brought up. Now, if we borrow $15 million or $14 million, my tax rate's going to go up $5.37 a month, which adds up to $64.48 a year. That's not bad. But I know what Mr. Harris said there tonight too. He said if we, and Councilor Finker mentioned it, if we can have sponsors, even Irving, that'll give us $5, $10 million. And some of these mills will give us $1 million. And somebody mentioned one of the rooms rent a room inside, you know, $1,000 here a month. That's all gonna add up. And Mr. Harris' mission too is getting the committee. And that's a good idea, and I think that's the right approach on this.
I'm for this, 100%. I guarantee you, but not at all costs. I have to go along with what our mayor has said, a third, maybe 50 and 25 and 25. I've been a volunteer all my life here. My kids grew up here, they're gone, but someday they might come home, I don't know. But we're building 2 new schools. We're building a pay center. We've got the unemployment, or the new government over behind the Walmart. These type of buildings and infrastructure is going to attract people. They guarantee they're going to come. You have education and you have everything else. They will come here. You build it, that old saying, they will come.
Taking on a function like this here. You know, I spent many hours over the last 4 years with this group here, mulling over this project, and it wasn't something that this council started. As you've heard here tonight, it started a couple of councils ago. We just continued the process, and that's how we got here tonight. It's something that had to be done. We have to know if we can progress or if we stay where we are. If we stay where we are, then we've got to look at repairing some of the aging facilities that we have. I was part of the council in the former town of Newcastle that built the Miramichi Civic Center. That's over 30 years ago.